Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report. Big news out of Detroit, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. There's a storm brewing on the defensive line. Rumors are swirling that DJ Reader, the Lions' high-profile defensive tackle signed just a season ago, could be cut or traded before the start of the 2025 campaign. Yes, you heard that right. One of the key pieces of Detroit's revamped run defense may soon be on the move. Let's rewind. The Lions signed DJ Reader to a $22 million deal in 2024, hoping to stabilize the interior of the defensive line and bring veteran leadership to a unit plagued by injuries the year before. Reader, despite past injury concerns, managed to stay on the field for the majority of the season, even recording a career-high 3 sacks and proving to be a solid contributor against the run. His PFF grade was a modest 61.0. Not elite, but respectable given the context of his role and Detroit's injury-ridden season. So why the sudden speculation about his departure? According to Mason Cameron of Pro Football Focus, the Dallas Cowboys, desperate to fix their disastrous run defense after finishing 29th in the NFL in rushing yards allowed per game, could be eyeing Reader as their next big acquisition. Cameron even suggested that DJ Reader is a cut candidate for Detroit, pointing to the team's recent moves, including the re-signing of Levi Onwuzurike and the first-round draft selection of Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State. With these two players in the fold, some analysts believe the Lions might see Reader as expendable, and while nothing official has been said by the team, there's no denying the logjam forming on Detroit's defensive front. Younger, cheaper options are now in place, and Reader's cap hit isn't insignificant. The Lions could save money by moving him, either via trade or a post-June 1st cut, especially if the front office believes Tyleik Williams can make an immediate impact as a rookie. From a pure football perspective, this would be a risky move. Reader may not be the elite player he once was, but his value goes beyond stats. He brings toughness, experience, and a level of leadership that's hard to replace. But this is the NFL, and when contracts, roster construction, and future flexibility come into play, sentiment often takes a back seat. The Cowboys, meanwhile, are in a position to make this work. They've shown a willingness to spend capital this offseason, notably in their recent trade for George Pickens, and have a glaring need at defensive tackle. Reader could slot in immediately next to Osa Odigizua, giving Dallas a physical presence they sorely lacked last season. Mason Cameron argues that the fit is almost perfect, especially given Reader's 91st percentile run defense grade over the past 3 seasons. But here's the twist. There's also a compelling reason why Detroit might not move on from Reader Aleem. McNeil, the team's standout interior lineman and arguably their most important defender in the trenches, is still recovering from a torn ACL suffered in December 2024. His status for the start of the season is highly uncertain, and the Lions are not in a position to gamble with defensive depth again after what happened last year. Cutting or trading Reader could backfire badly if McNeil isn't ready by Week 1, or if the younger players like Onwuzurike or Williams aren't prepared to take on full-time roles. Still, that hasn't stopped whispers in league circles from growing louder. Some insiders believe that Detroit could still pull the trigger if the right offer came along, especially if the Cowboys or another contender dangled a future second or third-round pick. The question then becomes, do the Lions prioritize immediate depth or long-term flexibility? Before we dive any deeper, make sure you're subscribed to Lions News Fan Report. Smash that like button and turn on the notifications so you never miss breaking updates, insider speculation, and bold predictions about your Detroit Lions. Now, back to the drama surrounding DJ Reader. So, let's talk about what this move would really mean. If DJ Reader were to be cut or traded this offseason, it would send shockwaves through the fan base and raise serious questions about the Lions' defensive priorities in 2025. After all, Reader was brought in to be a stabilizing force. Letting him walk just a year into his contract would appear, on the surface, like a miscalculation. But as the offseason unfolds, it's clear that this decision might be less about Reeder himself and more about the evolving identity of Detroit's defense. Let's break it down. The Lions used their first-round draft pick on Tyleik Williams, a high-upside, powerful defensive tackle who thrived at Ohio State. By all accounts, Williams is a plug-and-play talent who can contribute early in his rookie campaign. Add to that the re-signing of Levi Onwuzurike, who the team still believes has untapped potential, and you start to see a crowded room, especially if Alim McNeill does return healthy early in the season. Now, throw in the cap situation. Reeder is due a significant chunk of money this season. According to cap analysts, Detroit could save around $7 to $8 million in cap space if they move on post-June 1st, creating valuable flexibility for other roster needs, such as depth in the secondary or offensive line insurance. That's not nothing, especially in a league where every dollar matters, and with Detroit positioning itself as a long-term contender rather than a one-hit playoff story. What complicates the matter further is the kind of trade value Reeder might still have. He's a proven veteran with playoff experience, a respected voice in the locker room, and one of the best run defenders in the league when healthy. The Dallas Cowboys, who have shown aggression this offseason and desperately need help up front, would make a lot of sense as a destination. But they aren't the only ones. Other teams like the Cleveland Browns, Seattle Seahawks, or even the Buffalo Bills could be quietly monitoring Reeder's situation in Detroit. All of them are playoff-caliber rosters with a glaring need for interior toughness. If Detroit were willing to eat some salary or structure a trade cleverly, they could generate a small bidding war and walk away with a premium draft pick in return. Of course, there's always risk. Trading or cutting Reeder now, with McNeill's status still in question, would leave a big hole in the middle of the line. And while Tyleik Williams is exciting, he's still a rookie. Levi Onwuzurike has flashed, but health and consistency remain concerns. This wouldn't be a simple subtraction. It could reshape the entire tone of the defense, especially against the run, where the Lions struggled at times last season. That's where the speculation gets even juicier. Insiders believe there could be internal disagreement inside the Lions front office about the timing of such a move. Some are reportedly advocating patience, preferring to keep Reeder on the roster through training camp to assess how McNeill and the rookies perform. Others, however, see the financial upside and opportunity cost, especially with interest growing, from Dallas and possibly other suitors. There's also the broader picture to consider. Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have built this team with culture at the core. Reeder is seen as a leader, a tone setter in the locker room, and someone who sets the bar high in the weight room and on the practice field. Letting go of a guy like that has consequences beyond X's and O's, but at the end of the day, this is a business. And if the Lions truly want to take the next step as an elite, sustainable franchise, they'll have to make hard decisions, even when it involves fan-favorite veterans or respected leaders. If cutting or trading DJ Reeder means setting the team up for even bigger long-term success, don't be surprised if it happens. And here's the final curveball. What if Reeder asks out himself? Let's not forget, he's a competitor. He knows his window to win is shrinking. If he sees the writing on the wall, if he gets a sense that he'll be splitting snaps or riding the bench behind younger players, he might welcome a change of scenery. He might even push for a trade to Dallas, Buffalo, or any team where he can be the guy again. It wouldn't be the first time a quiet behind-the-scenes request led to a sudden move. As it stands, there's no confirmation from the Lions camp and likely won't be until much later in the offseason. But where there's smoke, there's fire. And with media insiders beginning to link Reeder to teams like the Cowboys, it's fair to ask, are we watching the final chapter of DJ Reeder's time in Detroit? If so, it would mark a swift and surprising end to a once promising partnership. But if the Lions play their cards right, it could also mark the beginning of a new, leaner, meaner defensive front, built on youth, explosiveness, and financial flexibility. Thanks for watching Lions News Fan Report. Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments. Should the Lions cut or keep Reeder? And where would you like to see him play if he's traded? Stay tuned for more updates, and, as always, go Lions!